In Nanny's The Necronomicon video, the Cthulhu mythos is brought to life by performance. The actor's performance is accompanied by a prop Necronomicon and a script riddled with mythos in-jokes and references, help to bring the subjunctive as-if world of the Cthulhu mythos into a state of being different from its life on the printed page. What do I mean by the subjunctive as-if world? A subjunctive world is an imagined order used to make sense of everyday reality. The subjunctive serves as a means of acting out a desired reality, one which does not exist and thus is in conflict with the one which does. It is something people do all the time within the fields of art, politics, science, religion, and fandoms. Jonathan Z. Smith, in his famous essay, The Bare Facts of Ritual, wrote about the subjunctive when discussing the ritual hunting of wild bears by Paleo-Siberian peoples. For Smith, ritual provides its practitioners with a direct line to the subjunctive. Quote, "Ritual is a means of performing the way things ought to be in conscious tension to the way things are, in such a way that this ritualized perfection is recollected in the ordinary, uncontrolled course of things." End quote. Smith's emphasis on performance and tension is important here. The subjunctive is not simply a mental construct, but is comprised of actions performed by people. For Smith, such performances help make the subjunctive real for its practitioners, a process that in turn helps to relieve existential tension. Such tension occurs naturally as the byproduct of living in a seemingly unordered and confusing world. The performance seen in the Necronomicon video temporarily creates for its fans a world that makes sense, the world of the Cthulhu mythos, a world in which all the rules and boundaries are known, reinserted, and understood, in contrast to the confusing, chaotic world in which fans live their day-to-day lives. Fans can understand what Jim and Dan are talking about. They know what the Necronomicon is, as well as who Abdul Hazard and the Great Old Ones are. In contrast, outsiders or non-fans will have a harder time making sense of what is happening in the video. In fact, a non-fan may never even see this video, since locating it would involve performing a YouTube search for the word Necronomicon. But for fans watching this video, everything makes sense. They know the world and what is at stake, even if it only lasts less than 2 minutes. However, the performance seen in the Necronomicon video is different from the ritual performances being addressed by Smith. Rather than ritual, which is repeatedly performed, the performance we have here is a one-off event and would be more correctly classified as that of play, a subject we will now turn our attention to. Though many theorists, such as Johann Huizinga and Roger Kaiwa, have dealt with the idea of play, I will be thinking here primarily with Gregory Bateson, who in his essay, A Theory of Play and Fantasy, stated that play represents a very complex type of meta-statement. Bateson writes, quote, "These actions in which we now engage do not denote what would be denoted by those actions which these actions denote." End quote. In other words, play possesses the unique capacity to denote both the motivation behind a certain set of actions, while at the same time signaling that the motivation behind these actions is different than what would be if this were not play. To better explain this concept, let's look back at the video. The stylistic form of the Necronomicon video clearly marks it as a kind of play as meta-statement. The form of the video makes clear that it was purposely made to denote a kind of proselytizing video commonly used by various Christian groups, with Jim playing the role of a missionary for the Great Old Ones, and the Necronomicon playing the role of a sacred text, like the Bible. However, the video subverts its viewers' expectations by not turning out to be an actual Christian proselytation video at all. Not only is Jim not offering Dan Christian salvation, but Cthulhuvian madness, he is not even soliciting an actual religion. Rather, what we have here is a video whose director and actors play at proselytizing. They denote the act of proselytization while simultaneously not denoting what would be denoted by actual proselytization, i.e., a desire to convert. That is to say that the makers of the Necronomicon video are not attempting to convert viewers to an actual religion oriented around the Necronomicon book and the Great Old Ones. They are instead creating a cultural form that itself constructs a subjunctive as-if world for its viewer fans, allowing them a momentary reprieve from what is an otherwise confusing and disordered life. Again, for the fans, everything in this video makes sense. It creates a microcosm which can be easily understood and a form from which comfort can be derived, even if that comfort is founded in Lovecraft's idea of cosmicism. In addition to this, Nanny's The Necronomicon also sets up a series of in-jokes that fans will find profoundly funny, but which will seem merely silly or be completely lost on outsiders. The main joke here is the way in which the Necronomicon book itself is being handled. Fans of the Mythos know that the Necronomicon is an extremely dangerous book. In Lovecraft's 1929 short story, The Dunwich Horror, reading from the Necronomicon almost brings about the end of the world, and therefore the book is kept locked away. Yet here it is being casually passed around a sunny coffee shop by two clean-cut and respectable-looking gentlemen, and most outrageously being offered for mass consumption in a public ad. Having said that, it would then also be correct to view Nanny's The Necronomicon video as a big joke. But just because something is a joke doesn't mean it shouldn't be taken seriously. And with that in mind, we turn to joking. A type of play, joking is also one of the primary means of subjunctive world making. In order for a punchline of any given joke to work, the joke teller must first create a subjunctive world in which that joke makes sense, such as one in which a priest, a rabbi, and an imam would all be at the same bar. Mary Douglas, in her 1970 essay Jokes, wrote that jokes are attacks on established systems of control. Quote, "A joke is a play upon form. It brings into relation desperate elements in such a way that one accepted pattern is challenged by the appearance of another, which in some way was hidden in the first." End quote. For Douglas, a successful joke reaches its punchline when the established system of control is shown to be either unnecessary or arbitrary. If this then is the case, and Nanny's Necronomicon video is a type of joke, what is the punchline and what is the established but unnecessary system that is under attack? Looking back at our earlier observation that the video represents a Batesonian meta-statement denoting religious proselytization while simultaneously not denoting what would be denoted by proselytization, i.e. a desire to convert, one can see that the system under attack is established religious institutions that conduct casual proselytization in public spaces like coffee shops. However, there is a tension here in that while the Necronomicon video is issuing its critique of proselytizing Christian behavior, it is also acknowledging the importance of institutionalized religion and drawing a parallel between it and the Cthulhu Mythos fandom. In this way, the Necronomicon video is also saying that fans find what they do to be just as important, meaningful, and worth preaching about as someone, maybe even their own, mainstream religion, regardless of how frivolous or silly the fandom may look to outsiders. In light of theories about the subjunctive play and joking which I have presented here, one can see how it becomes difficult to distinguish between fandoms such as that of the Cthulhu Mythos and recognized religious communities. Both fandoms and religious institutions help their members make sense out of their lives by building subjunctive as-if worlds, temporary orders set off by boundaries within an otherwise random and seemingly meaningless existence. Just as religious devotees perform ritual, which momentarily allows them to make the subjunctive world present, thereby creating a world of order and inspiration, so do fans partake in the act of play in order to produce worlds of fantasy in which to dwell. And just as religious communities can be interpreted as employing jokes in order to attack other similar systems which they deem unnecessary, so do fandoms employ jokes to attack other communities, be they religious or political. I hope that my efforts here have succeeded in adding something to the work done by other scholars who have examined the relationship between fandoms and recognized religious groups. Rather than simply illuminating superficial similarities between the two, I have endeavored to show in a penetrating way how both fandoms and religious communities function in a nearly identical manner in creating subjunctive as-if worlds through the form of play. I further feel that the work done here can be used to interpret not only fans of the Cthulhu Mythos, but other fandoms as well, be they fans of Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Star Trek, Star Wars, World of Warcraft, The Grateful Dead, and Elvis, just to name a few. Again, this is not to say that fandoms are religions. I see no need for us to revise our catalog of recognized religions to include a Cthulhu Mythos religion or a Star Wars religion, simply on the basis that these things have devoted fan groups. Instead, what I am emphasizing is that as scholars of religious studies, we need to take fandoms seriously on the basis of the sharp relief they can provide for the study of the subjunctive life of devotees, be they religious or recreational. A careful analysis of what fandoms do can shed light on how both communities create subjunctive worlds of meaning in their everyday lives. Thank you very much.